Hi guys, it's Karina from Ragebreed, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my stance on politics. And I don't mean sort of in the metal scene, but I mean in general in terms of governments and things like that. And for me, I want to explain to you what my belief system is and what I believe is what's wrong with certain things and what can be done. And these are just my suggestions. So one of the main things for me is I believe that first and foremost, I believe in equal and human rights. So that's a really big thing for me. So I do believe that everyone, no matter what sex, what colour, should be treated with equality and respect, because I think that's what is lacking in society, and I think that's the reason why there is so much mental health issues, because people just don't know how to treat each other. And from personal experiences, whether it's been relationships or whether it's been friendships, or there is a serious lack of knowing how to treat someone with just the basic human kindness and respect. And I think that's something that we want to change in Ragebreed, because we've seen a lot of bullying over the years, cyberbullying. We've seen people that just don't know how to discuss things properly. We've seen people who just love to troll. We've seen people set up pages just to bully. And there's a real problem because how can you have a healthy society if everyone is picking at each other and not supporting each other and putting each other down? And, it's almost like what's happening in our society is that people have become comfortable disrespecting each other and find fun in doing that. And one of the things that I think we're going wrong is when we talk about making fun of people, it's not fun. It shouldn't be fun. And if you find that fun, there's something seriously wrong with you, because normal people don't go around destroying each other. So that's number one, really. So for me, when it comes to how I think things should be run, it needs to be a big basis on equal and human rights. And we need to learn how to respect each other and how to actually bring that respect, into the forefront. Now, people say to me, what's the difference between bullying and banter? And my belief is that there's some people that are very polite and kind, and there's people that just like to have a bit of a laugh. And as long as both parties who are having the banter are comfortable with it and it's not hurting anyone, then there's no issue. The only time it's a bad thing is, say, if someone is seriously getting affected emotionally. And we need to care about these things, because essentially what happens is you get people who have got severe problems with self-esteem. And so sometimes what you say to someone can actually really affect them. They could be depressed, they could have long-standing mental health conditions. So when you're saying these things out of jest, or whether you're doing it intentionally to hurt someone or just doing it because you're messing about, you need to have that clarification with the other person that it's okay to do, and find out what the threshold is. And this whole ideology where people need to man up needs to stop, because everyone is different. Everyone has their own thresholds, and it's all down to chemicals in the body. It's all down to whether you're depressed, whether you've got conditions. So you have to start caring about what you do and how that's affecting other people. So for me, first and foremost, is that respect. So what we say in our groups, for example, is have a laugh with each other, have banter. We have no issue with that, but be respectful, and know if you don't go too far with it where people are going to start complaining and things like that. So it's having that understanding that if you're going to have a joke around and stuff, it's both from both parties, it's okay. And I'll give you an example. There was a whole feel free to roast me thing happening on one of the groups. And people really laid into that person. But that person was like, you know what, I'm asking you to do this, and you know, it's a bit of fun and we can take it, and it's banter and it's fine. So in those situations, yeah, you know, if you're comfortable with that and your threshold is quite high and you know there's no issue with it and both parties have accepted that, then there's no problem. The problem you have is when someone is extremely vulnerable mentally because they're going through conditions, and then there's other people that are just laying into them, and that's wrong, you know. And you need to have that, you know, it's not even about religion, it's about having that basic human decency to know what's right and wrong. And a lot of us you know, I was seeing this meme the other day that my friend Stacey had posted, which was a picture of a woman, and she was an adult, and there was two children, and one was her son, and he was bullying the other one, and it had a picture of a tongue going through her son's mouth. So it's kind of trying to say that, you know, you learn how to speak to people on the basis of how you're brought up. So if your tolerances, for example, are like, you know, well, my parents say this, so it's okay to say this, or my parents do this, so it's okay to do that. You are responsible for what comes out of your mouth. You're responsible for how you behave. You're responsible for the decisions you take. So you can't blame other people for what you put out there and what you do. And if you're doing something that's really destructive and negative, you need to really look inside yourself as to why you're doing it. Because, you know, bullying is not a good thing. It's sadistic. It's not even like, you know, it's just horrible. And people have had severe mental health issues, you know, and me included. I mean, I went through a lot of tough stuff growing up. I was segregated, I was ignored, I was made fun of, I was pushed, I was ridiculed, and it's so disgusting. And the people that do it, to me, have so many lessons in life to learn, because they don't know how to, you know, be good people. Basically, it's that simple. So when you're going through stuff like this, it's really important to understand that what Ragebreed stand for and what we're about is about that basic human respect. And it doesn't matter what country you're from, what sex you are, what orientation, anything like that. For me, Ragebreed is about accepting people for who they are and not allowing and having your boundaries up towards people who are abusive and nasty. And that's the only time that Ragebreed will ever put a status up or anything like that. If something public has gone up about us, we put a self-defense status up. And that is something that is very, very important, because there can be lies and rumours about you, basically from people who love to compete and don't like the idea of a woman, or a coloured woman for that matter, becoming successful. So number one, when it comes to politics, it's all about equal and human rights. So that's something that I 100% on board with. The second thing is, I do believe that if you work hard for something, you know, I have no issue with people wanting a lifestyle of what they want. And some people would argue, well, you know, it's greed and all this bullshit. I'm sorry saying that, but the reality is in life, you can't tell someone or anyone how to live. So if they want a comfortable, luxurious life, that's up to them. If they want to lead a simple life, that's completely up to them. But both shouldn't be dogging each other and saying you need to be like this and the other person should be like you need to be like that. You know, business is what creates jobs, and business will help provide training. You know, we offer training, we do voluntary work, we do commissioned work, we do paid fees, and everyone is on a self-employed sort of contract, or they're volunteers which get vouchers and things like that. And we train people up as well. So people who've had no experience in music business, you know, we train them. So we manage to give them some sort of skills or experience completely free, and then they get to work for a really cool, music business. And then, later on there's more opportunities for them, as we grow. So I have no issue with any of those things. I mean, I have done a lot of voluntary work for many businesses and promoters, and it's been something that I've realized that, say, I needed to build a portfolio, and an example is graphic design, and I did that for a promoter for a series of years for free. And I've done things to help my community for free. So, like other businesses and the promoters, I've promoted them through Ragebreed. I've promoted other nights because I believe in helping the community. I believe in helping people grow. And I don't think what we do is a bad thing. I think, sometimes it's appreciated by the venues and promoters and we get the respect back. And in other situations, they see us as competition and, they try and bring us down. And that's what's, business is very cutthroat, music business. They'll go as far as character defamation. So, it's to be aware of these things, that when you do have this kind of mindset to help other people, not everyone will want to help you back. And it's something that I've discovered throughout the years and everything. But that doesn't mean to say you should change what you do. It means that there's going to be people that appreciate and are grateful for what you do, and there's people that don't, and that's fine, because who you are is your character. What you represent is your character. What your brand represents is your brand. So that's how we like to do things, and it's about having that sort of, help self but also help others, and that balance is key. So as long as you've got the help and you've got the people in the team and everything to do so, it's all good. And it's something that I'm learning along the way, as how to sort of get people on board that have the same mindset as myself. Not competing, no jealousy, we rise together. And that's the whole point of what we do. Rise together, because then everyone wins. The other thing about politics as well, and I wanted to mention, we do have a problem with poverty, and in this day and age we shouldn't be having a problem with poverty. But the problem that we have in a global sense is that poverty exists all around the globe, and we have resources around the globe which could be doing a lot more. I mean, we have the United Nations that should be tackling any kind of equal and human rights problems, and that goes for countries all over the world where, say, women are being treated unfairly. There's things like Amnesty International, which are great, that we support as well, and they do so much work in order to help that. But the UN needs to be looking at world leaders and people that are inflicting wrongdoing around the world. That's what my thought process is, where we have sort of like a global alliance of people to know what's right and wrong, and what things that needs to be stopped, which is corrupt, and get the human rights and equal rights sorted internationally. Because the problem that we've now got is that there's so much prejudice flying around, and there's so much inequality, and there's so much poverty, and this all this needs to stop. For me personally, poverty should be a thing of the past. And I haven't got the answers of how to tackle it really, because that's not my job, but simple things can help this situation. And rehabilitation, all the plastic waste we've got. I was looking at this documentary about how they were using the plastic to build homes for the homeless. Now, if you are at that place in time, these could be homes which are temporary, and there should be people in every country looking at how to rehabilitate people that are so poor that they can't afford to live, and what can they do in order to teach them skills in order to get to that point. What counselling do they need? So say if they've got drug or alcohol addictions, what can we do, or as a society globally do, to help people, which is not going to cost them a fortune? And it's making people aware of the free counselling services there are, the free psychotherapy, the free life coaching, all that kind of thing to help these people get back on their feet. The problem that you've got is that we have that kind of underground society of people that, that are fakes. There are people that, manipulate and lie. And so you're kind of faced with the situation where there are people that are genuinely poor and homeless and, want to get out of that rut. And then there's the people that like to scam and manipulate and they want to stay in that zone. So they're the two things that, we've got to sort of try and sort out. So the other thing for me is putting that plan together to help poverty, basically. I hate the fact that anyone's been homeless. I can't stand to think that there's going to be people out there in the winter cold, so I always delegate clothing when I can. I always buy someone a hot cup of coffee and some food when I see them, not every time because sometimes I'm in a rush, but I do what I can to help the homeless. And we are going to be setting up events in order to do that once COVID is over with. So that's my political stance on poverty. And it's really about getting people in the right frame of mind to want to create a life that will help them live a life that they truly want. And the problem that we've got is there's people that believe that you should just have a simple life and it's greedy to want anything more. And I do believe that lifestyle, if they want simplicity, there's nothing wrong with that. God, there's the amount of times that I've wanted to live in a forest, but realistically, we live in a world that is based on money and business, things like that. So we have to try and find a way to adapt ourselves in a world that we know is something that we can't change globally. The only thing that we can change is our mindset and how to become successful. So we're not going to be dealing with poverty situations. How can we benefit? What skills can we learn? What kind of training can we learn? And having jobs for people in music. I mean, the reason why I've tried to develop Ragebreed as well is so there's things for people to do. I mean, those that are on benefits and just want to do a bit of work for me, they may have autism, they may have, something that prohibits them from being able to, work full time. If I can help them to do a bit of volunteer work, then that gives them a bit of purpose because it won't affect their benefits, and it's something that they're doing as a passion and a hobby. So there's that's that side of things. And then the second thing is people that do want to make part-time income and they do want to grow with the business and everything, then they can do that through our sales. So and then on top of that, we've got our paid fees for, like our DJs, and we pay bands and things like that. So there's all kinds of things that a business can offer people: training, skills. We can offer voluntary work, we can offer commission-based work, we can offer, paid for work. So all those things, is what's going to help society. I don't believe that business is a problem. I believe it's something that can help people to come out of that. So in that sense, I do believe in business and I do believe it builds economies. So and I do believe that the level of growth of what you can actually accumulate is down to how hard you work and how much you put in. And we are in the building stages, so we want to be able to provide a very strong business to help people all around the world and get the most out of their skills working in music business, so they've got a role that they can call their own. And it helps them because a lot of the people that work for us have also got their own thing as well, so we help grow them, they help grow us, and there's a beautiful balance going on there through our channels. So what we're doing is kind of revolutionary. It's something that hasn't been done before in how we work, and we want to help maintain a really good, strong focal point and help people around the world to have purpose, for one thing, gain skills, train with us, get the best out of their business. I mean, you've seen our affiliates literally grow. Their groups have grown, their pages have grown, we've grown, and that's what it's all about: networking and growing together, providing opportunities for each other. That's what businesses can do. So in that sense, I have no issue with business. You've got to make your money, you've got to do something that you enjoy. And I think that if you're doing something that you love to do, where it's helping your communities grow, building communities, that is what Ragebreed is about. It's about building communities, providing opportunities for people, whether it's bands, businesses, groups, non-for-profit charities. We've done so much for our community, and so for me, I have no issue with businesses whatsoever, and I have no issues with people that want a certain lifestyle and want to, I don't think that it's wrong. I don't think it's greedy. I don't think of any of that. I think if you really want to go for something and you want to provide for your family and you want to have a good, luxurious lifestyle, fine, go for it. You're not hurting anyone by doing that. The problem that you have is that if people there is a poverty issue. Let's face it, there is a problem. It's not because the people that are working hard are greedy. It's because there's nothing there for people who are poor to help them get back on their feet properly. And I've been looking into a few different things as well myself, and I think the other thing that I truly believe in is education, and that's something that is really important for our society, because a few years back, years back now, university was free, and the education to get people skilled and trained and everything was free, and so people were able to get that education, and so they were able to go into skills-based work and go through their profession. And what it is now is that everything costs money, so a lot of people just kind of don't do that, and so they can only get kind of very simple jobs, and they're not really living out their purpose or their dreams because they've not really thought about it. They've just thought, let's just get a job, and that's it, which is fine. But then your actual purpose in life, what you actually enjoy doing, have you thought about that? And a lot of depression is linked to not having the life that you truly want.
Find your purpose, because that is what's going to create a life that you want.
So I was looking at Reed, which is a company. They're also like a recruitment company, but they also do courses. And for those of you that can't afford to do, a lot of courses, check them out, because on their courses, there's actually free courses on there. So for those that want to have a different direction in their life, they're not happy with the life that they've got and they want to try something new, do a bit of research, try some new courses, because they're free, and if you find something that really excites you, that brings your passion alive, they're the things that you need to think about. What things do you enjoy doing, and what things are going to pay the bills? You've got to think of both things, because you can't. It's like I used to know someone who was an incredible guitarist, but he only used to play in his room. He was too afraid to go for a band. He was too afraid, to go for the things they want. He didn't do any self-promotion. If you don't do those things, you are never going to be successful at what you do. And you have to not live your whole life in fear of what may go wrong, because things are going to go wrong on the way. You just have to be tough enough to be able to deal with them as and when they happen. So, for example, things have gone wrong for me. Like I've had plenty of setbacks, but true winners, even when there are setbacks and there's failures, you get up and you try again. And that is the mindset of a winner, because no matter how bad life can get, it's a bit like that Rocky Balboa thing where it says, no matter how bad life gets, you've got to be tougher, you've got to keep getting back up. 100% believe with that. And sometimes things do knock you for six, and you do have that moment of depression, which I know about because I've had it. I've had PTSD, I've had panic attacks, anxiety attacks, severe depression. But the only person in life that can truly help you is yourself. And it's really about, if you've got problems and you've got issues, then go to a doctor, go to a therapist. And I'm 100% going to say this because it's worked for me. Take your meds. My dad's a doctor, right? And so is my brother's. And depression is very chemical. What happens is that there's like certain things in your brain where you're running out of sort of particular hormones in your body, and the receptors aren't firing in the right way. I can't remember the the actual physiology of it, exactly how my dad said it. But when you take antidepressants, it basically fills up those things to a natural point again. Whereas when you're depressed, they stop firing, they reduce, which is why you feel tired, drained. It's why you feel suicidal. I 100% believe on getting the right antidepressant, and it will take you a while to find them. I mean, the one that I went on is called sertraline, and it really sorted out my anxiety and depression. I'm so much better than what I was in 2019. And, I'm sure a lot of people can see it in how I'm more organized, I'm more, self-motivated. And I still have things I have to work on, but I'm getting the therapy for those things and dealing with the traumas of what I've experienced. But my point being is that if you have to look after yourself, you've got to make the decision to make yourself be better, feel better, so you're in a position where you can, create a life that you truly want. And I completely understand for those who have very severe mental issues where they can't do that, or disabilities. Don't put that pressure on yourself. I'm saying this from, a point of view whereby I 100% understand those that can't function in a normal way. So that's really important to understand and clarify, and be gentle with people that have got those conditions, because you can't sit there and say just snap out of it, because they can't. So if you know that that's the situation, some people just can't snap out of it because they've got severely impaired mental conditions. Some people have schizophrenia, things like that. There are things, but there are ways that you can help yourself by making sure that you're taking your meds, you're getting the treatment, and you're doing what you can to look after yourself. So things like diet, exercise, surrounding yourself by good people that support you. Your social network is so important, and I cannot stress this enough. If you're around toxic people that drain you, that compete with you, that are jealous of you, it is so depleting on your energy, and it makes you feel bad for wanting to have dreams. And they are not the kind of people you want in your life. You want people that big you up, that that want to sort of promote you, they want to help you, they want to, and you help each other. It's about, but some people, I've got people on my friends list that they want a simple life. They're quite happy doing what they're doing. They're mothers, they've got simple jobs, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I will treat them with the same level of respect as, say, a big CEO, because people all deserve respect, no matter where they come from, what background they do, what job they do. It's really important. But the biggest thing for me is to make sure that you guys are looking after yourselves, and and if you are having problems, please get the help. Please do that, because I've seen, and this is coming from someone who has had a very difficult past. I've had a really, people think, oh, you've got a perfect life. It's taken me years and years and years of bad decisions, being knocked down, choosing the wrong kind of friends, the wrong kind of partner. All those things are learning lessons. It's all about wisdom that you accumulate from life experiences. And what helps you with these things, is that you come out stronger, because you've learned from that. You've learned what your boundaries are, and what healthy boundaries are about. And I'm still in the process of learning that. It's still something that I'm learning to do. But I think it's really important about what energy you bring into the world, and what energy that you are surrounding yourself with, because that's really important. If you're around people that don't trust you and are constantly picking at you, and I still have work to do with that on my friends list, because I do still have people that are like that. But it's, you constantly have to think about, what am I allowing into my life? And, there is a massive difference between constructive criticism and, people that are gentle with you, tactful, and make suggestions because they want to see you grow, to people who are nasty, cruel, abusive, trolling, all those kind of things. They want to see you fail. So there's a difference between constructive criticism where they want to see you grow, and negative people that, fault find continuously and want to see you fail. Now, we learned quite a lot from, a lot of the online hate that we received, but we also set up a dispute process. And we are going to be talking a little bit about bullying as well, and how it can really affect someone's mental health and stuff. So we will be doing more on Ragebreed Against Bullying, but not for this section right now.
Be responsible for the energy that you bring into the world, and be responsible for the energy that you allow into your life.
The other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to politics and stuff is also about the emphasis on the globe and what we're doing in terms of environment. So that really is a big thing for me, and I do actually believe in clean energy and looking after our earth, because essentially the earth is the most important thing, because if we're not looking after it, there's going to be so many world disasters, in terms of, our oceans and things like that. And people say, oh, this is not going to help and all this, but every little does help. Small things help. Every little step is closer to your goal. So ways that you can help with the environment is through recycling, things like that. And there is a problem with nuclear waste and all that kind of stuff. So I think more needs to be done on a global sense. And I think that should be something that the UN needs to concentrate on how to get global leaders to get this kind of plan in place, because we do need to look after our earth, and that's a big thing that I'm an advocate for. And it's one of the reasons why I joined the Green Party, because of that, because I do think we need a very big reform, of very big changes. I know they're not the strongest party, and before I used to vote Labour, there are things that I will say about Labour that I'm not 100% on board with, because I am more central. But at the same time, I do believe in human and equal rights. However, I do feel like there isn't really a party that I'm going to be honest about that I feel really does adhere to the belief system that I have. But I wanted to I decided to do this because I think it's important for people to actually know who I am, where my political stance lies, and what I believe can be improved, what can't be improved, because these things are important, and I want people to know who I am. I want to be as transparent as possible. So for one of the biggest things that I do believe in is about, making sure that we're looking after our earth. The ways we can do that through global, we make people aware of the effects of what we're doing. So, one of my old flatmates, Emma, was really good. She taught me quite a lot about recycling, about plastic, things like that. And simple things can be done as well, like growing your own veg. I mean, we do that as well. We do buy as well, but we try not to use the plastic bags as much. Things like that are small things that can help. Solar panels is another thing as well. My ex actually did solar engineering and stuff, and I think it's a great way to try and save on energy and do things a clean way. So yeah, I'm really on board with that. So that's something that I do believe that we should all be actively doing, is taking care of our planet. Don't litter. That's something that really bugs me. I hate seeing litter in places, and making sure that we're looking after our surroundings and looking after the earth in the best way that we can. So yeah, that's where my political standpoint is. When it comes to the earth, we need to be doing more to help, and looking into new innovative ways to help. Like, for example, earlier I was talking about plastic waste, and there's a country that are actually building homes, because plastic is so durable, for the homeless. And things like that are really important, because it's taking something that is a problem and then creating a new purpose for it. And if there's a way that the whole globe can think constructively in that way and be very innovative, then we're going to end up seeing, a decline in waste, and, solutions to problems like, homelessness and having things like that. I mean, there's so many different new things that I'm reading about, like homeless pods, amazing. All these things are so good. So as much as there's doom and gloom in the world, there's also a lot of people that are innovative and want to help, and scientists that are trying to help as well. Amazing. And these are the things that are going to help our communities. This is what's going to help globally, and that's my stance when it comes to the global side of things and environmental health.
Look after your environment.
The other thing I wanted to chat about was, there's so many different things right now about fox hunting, things like that. I'm totally against fox hunting. I'm totally against mistreatment of animals. So I do believe that there should be a lot more sort of cruelty-free products available. And I think a lot of, companies need to look at different ways of, experimentation and not harm animals. Obviously, you guys know that I used to be vegan and vegetarian for a while, and then I went back to eating meat because of my health. And one of the things that I will say is that, the dairy industry is probably one of the cruelest industries that I've ever seen in my life. And, I do think, as much as now I don't mind eating meat and having dairy, I do think you also need to look at, where it's sourced and make sure, and it's a hard one for me because, for me personally, I think the governments need to be doing more to make sure that the animals are looked after properly. There needs to be more things to help animals as well. So I am totally against animal cruelty. Unless it's sourced for food, I think they should be taken care of, and looked after in a humane way. So I think the government can be doing a lot more in terms of that. I do not agree with fox hunting. I think it should be banned. Anything like where elephants are being used for ivory, shark fin hunting, all that kind of thing, I can't stand it. And I think it needs to be a UN thing. It needs to be a global situation where more is done on that. It's really important. I know a lot of people don't think animals are important, but we're all beings of this world, and unless it's done for for survival, to eat, to make sure that you're healthy, then all the other things that we're hurting animals for is inhumane. And there needs to be some serious consequences for people that are doing that and harming animals. So yeah, I'm totally for anyone or any charity that is against animal abuse.
Stop animal cruelty, stop testing on animals, ban fox hunting, ban all trades that are about harming animals unless it's for food.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to chat about was also the issue that we've got with obesity and that kind of thing. And one of the things that I've realized is that we don't do enough to promote healthy eating. And I, for one, used to be a very big fan of junk food and stuff. I didn't really know how to eat properly for my body or anything like that. I had PCOS, so losing weight was hard. I had underactive thyroid, so losing weight was hard. And, on top of that, I had PTSD. So, the mood side of things was very difficult. I struggled with bulimia. And we're all genetically made up in a certain way, which we can't actually help. But there are things that you can do to make yourself healthier. And a lot of it is to focus on mind, body and spirit. And I know I go on about this quite a lot, but it's so important to keep your mind healthy and, make sure that you're doing right for your body and doing right for your mind, and making sure that you are protecting yourself from, external influences that might be negative. And believe me, I grew up with the whole Pantera backstage thing. I used to love the rock and roll lifestyle, but you can't do that to death because it will have an effect on your organs, and you have to. And these kinds of things, I mean, now and again, yeah, sure, go out, have a party, all that kind of thing, but it's about balance. So if you're drinking every day, there's a problem, because If you have to have alcohol or any kind of addiction, whether it's food, whether it's drugs, whether it's, you know, anything like that, whether it's alcohol, food, or addiction, you know, it's all bad for you. You can't be reliant on things like that. So, and the reason why I stress it is because we have this sort of ideology that in the rock and roll lifestyle it's all about sex, drugs and rock and rolls and things like that, but a lot of these people end up in rehab and we put them as role models, and then we model our own behavior on what we learn, and we think, oh, it's so cool, it's really good and you're invincible, but your body is not invincible, you know, your brain is not invincible. So it's really about assessing what you do, and don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not preaching to you and saying you have to do this. This is about my advice and my personal experiences to help people that might be struggling, because ultimately whatever you choose to do in your life is up to you. But what I'm trying to do is from a place of care is to sort of say to you that if you are struggling and you're not able to keep your emotions in check and things like that, then see a nutritionist if it's a food problem. See someone who, you know, can do the right plan for your body type, because one diet won't fit everybody. So if you've got diabetes and then they're telling you to eat loads of carbs and, you know, have lots of fruit, that's not going to be healthy for you, because, you know, you're going to end up with weight gain. And from personal experiences, when I tried those diets, you know, high carb and all that kind of stuff, you end up putting on weight. So one of the reasons why I stopped being vegan and vegetarian was for that reason. So if you have got diabetes, PCOS, low GI eating and keto is probably the best way forward for you, but also couple it with half an hour of exercise every day, have a break at weekends. If you're someone that's trying to put on weight, like recently I was talking to someone online in regards to that, I do recommend something called healthline.com. I think it's a .com anyway. And they're really good for, you know, different articles and things. And these are by professional doctors and things. So, you know, it's a really good way to access some really important information in regards to your health. There's also the NHS website as well. If you were dealing with addictions, see your doctor, you know, and look at a way to try and help, you know, build your body into a sensible kind of, you know, so it's able to function properly, because, you know, addictions and things can mess with your head, you know, and you don't have control over your life and can lead to all sorts of mental disorders. So I just want to put it out there that as much as I do love to go out and have a drink now and again, it is now and again, it's not every day. And you know, it's important to not be around people that are toxic, that constantly want to drink every day, you know, that are going to put you in a position where you're making unhealthy choices for yourself, you know, and people will do what they want to do essentially. But what I'm trying to say to you is I'm promoting as a person, and what my belief system is to look after yourself, because it's coming from a place of care. You know, go to a doctor, you know, see a nutritionist, and look at labels. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but have a look at the nutritional information on whatever you buy. How is that going to affect you? Will you get diabetes if you're eating too much sugar? You know, it's things like that that you need to look at and make sure that you're really thinking about what kind of fuel is right for your body. You know, and that's not to say you can't have a takeout now and again. You know, at the weekend, have off. But I think if you have some kind of self-discipline between Monday and Friday, you know, you look after yourself, you know, and you're exercising, you're meditating, those things, you will see a difference in your moods. You will see a difference in everything, because you're losing weight and you're enjoying the experience. And, you know, you're getting your shit together basically. And for so long, when I was in a very low mood, you know, I was drifting through life. And when you're drifting, you don't have any real plans or anything solid. So one of the things that I will say is, you know, if you are struggling, go and see a counsellor, see a psychotherapist if it's very severe, see a nutritionist if you're having issues with weight. bring diet and exercise into your life, which is right for you. Have a look for the right diet for your conditions. And if you're really struggling with life in general, we offer a life coaching service as well. So, if you need some help and you need someone to, plan your life out in such a way that you reach your goals by the end of the year, I actually do life coaching through Ragebreed Mind, Body and Spirit. So, there are ways that you can get from point A to point B. And, the feeling that you get when you accomplish that is amazing. I've still got work to do and I've got my plans in place, but I have accomplished quite a lot because of planning, and people don't realise that, planning is a huge part of, and how to reach your goals. Some things won't always go according to plan. There might be some things that go wrong, like for example health, but you just get back up again, and that's what a winner does. And that's how people that succeed, whenever I research people that have been successful, it doesn't matter what bad things happen, they get up again. If they're struggling with something, they learn how to do it better, and they're constantly solution based. So once you have that thought process in your brain that I'm a solution-based person and I will conquer whatever issue that is going on in my life by seeking the right, therapy or finding out the right information, that is what's going to lead you to success.
Look after mind, body and spirit in order to have a healthy body.
So a few people asked me about my views on Brexit, and my views are this, is that everyone had a reason to vote for what they thought was right. And some people thought it was a thing that was racist, and some people voted to leave Brexit because they wanted the independence for Britain. So, there's been very conflicted values and very conflicted thought processes. And unfortunately, by having the decision to leave Brexit, it did bring about a lot of far right, issues, which we did have. And the problem that, I experienced from, us leaving the EU was excessive racism. And I had it on consecutive days, people saying, oh, we're going to be checking you out of our country, things like that. And it's disgusting, I think for me, I voted Remain, and my reasons is that I do believe that the EU is a great thing. I do believe that what we have with the EU was a very good relationship, and as I predicted, the racism would soar up and the value of the pound would go down and it would affect everything, and it has, but I know that a lot of people like the fact that they could also trade with other countries as well. So it's not so black and white as to why people voted leave and why they voted Remain. And I certainly don't hold grudges against people however they voted, but my main grudge is that there's not enough being done about racism in this country, which has been absolutely horrendous. For me personally, it's been pretty bad. It's been very bad. I've had such bad experiences with racism in this country, even in the metal scene, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And this is the reason why we did Ragebreed Against Bullying, because we are wanting to stamp out cruelty, hatred, racial hatred, all that kind of thing, because it's so wrong. It's so wrong, and I'm so passionate about this because everyone deserves respect. Everyone is a human being. They all have a heart. They're all someone's mother or father or daughter or brother. We are part of a human race. If we can't treat each other with the right respect, then what does that say about us? And instead of labeling the whole race because of one bad experience you've had with a particular race or a couple, stop doing that. I've had really, really bad experiences, coming from white males, but I don't sit there and say, right, I hate all white males now. I never think like that, because I know that there are some good people out there, and it's not down to do with race, it's to do with how that person has been raised and how that person treats you. So you have to remember that, you know, we shouldn't be brushing, you know, tarring all people with one brush. So when it comes to Brexit, I personally wish that we'd remained. I understand why people voted out because of different reasons. But one thing I will say is that the racism has to stop. It has to stop. There needs to be more, you know, there needs to be more done about it. And this is why we are such a great global company that shows that metal is around the world. There was somebody from my past that said, metal is a middle class white man's world. You are a woman and you're Asian, so obviously people are going to take issue with that. And to hear something like that was really hard for me, because I've always thought as metalheads being, you know, inclusive, because, you know, you're doing something away from the norm. It's all about individuality and expression. But actually, some people in the metal scene are just not like that. They're so right wing and they're so like in their own little cliques. And if you're completely different from that or from who they are, they push you away and they take the piss. And these are the worst kinds of people, in my opinion, because, you know, metal is about family. It's about being inclusive. It's about saying, you know, this music is international. There are people internationally that love this music. It's not just for the white man, it's for every man. It's for every person. It doesn't have boundaries. People have boundaries, you know, and people have these things where they judge each other and they're prejudiced, and it causes pain and it causes injustice and inequality and unfairness, and that's what needs to stop. So for me, Brexit escalated a very big problem, you know, which obviously was, you know, a lot of racism, and that's why I feel very passionate about now fixing that problem and trying to show people that, you know, metal is a very broad spectrum and it's international. If you go to www.ragebreed.biz, you will see, you know, that we represent all metalheads globally, and we all treat each other with respect and kindness. We are doing this as a movement so we don't get this cyberbullying, we don't get this racial hatred, we don't get these prejudices. You know, in an ideal world, it would be wonderful to be loved and accepted for who you are, you know, as long as you're not causing hurt to others, and, you know, to make sure that whatever you're doing in life, you know, that you've got a good support network around you. And that's what we try and do. We try and help people from all over the world. And, you know, it doesn't matter what our governments say or do, whether they do Brexit or whatever, we're always going to stand for unity. We're always going to stand for respect. And that's why we have our group rules in our pages. So that's my personal thing on Brexit. And the other thing is, I'm not one of these people that are going to, you know, unfriend you because you voted for a different party. The only time I will do that is if, say, for example, you voted for BNP, you know, or something like that, something along those lines, which is like racial hatred and divisions, because that's not what we're about. If it comes to other parties, I'm not too fussed about really, but where there's like, you know, proper nationalists and people that, you know, are very far right, we don't tolerate far right in Ragebreed. And the reason being is because we know that that causes pain for people, it causes segregation and divide, you know, and the song War Pigs by Black Sabbath comes to mind whenever I think of far right, and we don't tolerate that at all. Now, another thing that was mentioned was about bands that have had sort of far right ideologies or promoted far right symbols, for example. And we've come to the conclusion that we are going to put a disclaimer for whatever bands that end up in our magazine or whatever, because we don't know the ins and outs of stuff and the people, and it's a shame for the rest of the band members to have to deal with the shit of, say, one person. So what we're going to be doing is we're still going to promote bands and stuff through our outlets, but what we're going to do is make it very clear as a disclaimer to say that we do not promote or encourage right-wing propaganda or far-right kind of ideology. So that's something that we're going to do. So we're happy to play the music because it involves other band members, but we will not support particular members, for example. So it's a really hard thing, and we did a debate on this on the Ragebreed page. Some people said they completely cut the band off. Some people say we still listen to the music because we don't really listen to the lyrics, love the music. And there's such a vast array of what people think, and we are about equal rights and we do believe in that, and it sometimes it can get very conflicting because it's like if you were going to assess every single band member for one band, there's probably going to be things that you don't like about that band, but you have to sometimes take that emotion out of it and be professional and see it as a collective thing, like a band, as opposed to that member. And it is really difficult. That's something that you have to understand from a media perspective, is that we're there to sort of promote the music and not really get into the personalities of the band and stuff. And some people listen to music just for the music and not the lyrics. Some people will completely shun out the whole band. But then we have issues where the band members say, well, that's not fair on us because of this one member. And this is why I say to bands, you have a personal responsibility to make sure what you're putting out there, is good. You're not going to sit there and, break people, because that's what, you can lose so many fans around the world by racist ideology, by far right and things like that, because it is wrong, and unfortunately in the metal scene it seems to be more accepted than other genres of music. So we have to really put this in place whereby with Ragebreed we are going to be putting disclaimers out there to say that we don't agree with far right ideology, but we will promote bands regardless. However, taking the emotion out of it and taking our own political stance on particular band members and not doing that, we have to be very careful. So we are going to be putting that in our magazines and on our radio and through our groups to show that we stand for equal and human rights, regardless if certain members are far right or not. We may decide not to work with a band if they are openly racist and everything about them is racist, for example. So say, for example, if they're saying certain things, we have to be very careful on what we are agreeing to promote. But we will always make it known that what we are and what we stand for is about equal and human rights, and that's the main thing really, regardless if, say, a band member of a band is not. The other thing I wanted to discuss was about how there is a difference between scrutinizing religion and that kind of thing, but also where you're actually trying to hurt people who are religious. So where you're actively hurting people, and there's a lot of it's a very difficult market, because you've got all the things with the church burnings and stuff like that with black metal, and a lot of metal is very anti-religion, and and personally I'm not particularly religious, but I celebrate all cultures. So say if there's Christmas or there's a Chinese New Year, I will celebrate that all around the world, because I'm a very cultured and open-minded person. saying that, I won't particularly, I wouldn't say that I followed strict religions or anything like that, because that's just not how I'm wired up. That doesn't mean to say that I don't know what's right and wrong. I know the basics of what's right and wrong, and I know, things that are wrong, things that aren't. And the thing for me really is, when we talk about religion and stuff, there's going to be religions we agree with, there's religions that we're not going to agree with. There's going to be parts of religions that we, like, and there's going to be parts of religions that we don't like, and you can scrutinize religions, and I'm always up for a healthy debate on certain things. But what I don't agree with is people actually harming others on the basis of what their religion is, and that's where you've got a situation whereby that falls under the prejudice. That can be really difficult in metal, because obviously lyrics sometimes can be anti-Christian or anti-religion, and there's connotations with the devil and Satanism and things like that. And the best way someone put it is that regardless of what your belief system is, we should still aim to work together and treat each other with respect and love. And when you watch documentaries like A Headbanger's Journey, for example, Metal Headbanger's Journey, I think it's called, there's a point in the actual documentary which talks about how metalheads are like a family. It's unity. It doesn't matter where they come from and things like that, and it's one of the most closest experiences to God. He actually mentioned that and said, bringing so many people together into a community is a beautiful thing. And it's like people say metal is my religion, for example. That's what we say, because it doesn't matter what you believe in or what your religious aspects are or what you do. That's your own personal thing with the universe. You can believe in what you want. That's what human rights is. It's about saying that I have the freedom to believe in what I want to without being judged and prosecuted, and but then you do also have the freedom to criticize religions and say, this is why I don't believe in it. This is the same with science. There's some people that don't believe in some scientific studies. There's some people that do. It's like I'm a very big believer in ESP, and I'm very, very intrigued with people like people who have worked for NASA, for example, Russell Targ, for example, and there's a whole different thing when it comes to the universe and your relationship to it. And I'm a spiritual person in the sense that I'm not religious, but I do believe in energy, and I believe in afterlife and things like that, because it's to do with a lot of like experiences, and it's to do with physics actually. The energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transferred. And when you start reading about non-physical matter and stuff, and if you're a bit of a geek like me, you start to realize about all these different scenarios. Now, you're quite welcome to say, well, I disagree with you and I'm an atheist, so or I'm religious and we don't believe in those things. Or you can say, you're completely welcome to disagree with me. The difference is if all these three different kinds of people can have a conversation respectfully and have a healthy debate and still be friends and get along and have a coffee with each other, then humanity is evolving. Because it doesn't matter, there's going to be things that we all agree on, and there's going to be things that we disagree on. It doesn't mean to say that because you don't agree with me, I hate you and therefore I'm not going to have you within part of my community. That's where we're going wrong. So if everybody, learned to accept our individuality as we are, through our own personal experiences, through our own life path, because our personal relationship with the universe is our own, and that's what spirituality is all about. It's not about following a book of rules, but having that internal understanding of what's right and wrong. And you don't need religion for that. you know what's right and wrong. You know inside intuitively that if something's wrong or right. Now, okay, arguably, if you're in a social group where wrongdoing is normal, and you won't know that, you see. And this is why we have group rules in our particular, in our environment. So we have our boundaries there, we have our rules there in place, so people know how to treat each other. And it's nothing to do with religion. It's to do with how people should treat each other. Do no harm, take no shit. That's how we operate. And our Ragebreed t-shirts, for example, have the ideology on the back as well. We do believe in standing up for yourself if there's some wrongdoing. Nothing wrong with that at all. And we do believe in exposing bullies as well, because a bully should never be able to get away with stuff. And and a lot of it is down to do with belief systems. Some people do believe that they have a right to bully, or they're narcissists and they believe that it's okay for them to treat people a certain way, and it really isn't. And it's about sort of understanding where you stand with other people who have different views from you. So for example, for me, I've educated a lot of people because they used to think, Indians only care about this, or Indians don't listen to metal, and I've proved them wrong. And you can still be someone who listens to metal and be in a different country, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to promote other people that don't get that chance to be in a magazine, who are from all over the world, who they don't get Indonesian bands, or they don't get like Indian bands, or it's time to bring the world together. It's time to show people that this our community is global. Our rock and metal community is global, and that's what we're going to be working on. So I hope you've enjoyed. I know it's only been like a small segment. I could go on and on and on about my different ideologies, and what I believe in, but I think this has been a good eye-opener to what I believe in, and what the things that we want to help promote, because everybody is human, regardless of race, orientation, whatever sex you are, regardless of all that, regardless of how different your life is to maybe the older generation, how different your life is because maybe it's unconventional. We completely accept everybody for who they are, as long as they're not intentionally hurting other people, and that's where we stand. So people wanted to know what my ideology is, what my political stance is on things, and I hope that this has been an eye-opener to who I am and what Ragebreed represent. Thanks for listening.
Treat people with kindness and respect all around the world.
Ragebreed, a global company promoting UK and international music from all around the world.